Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Welcome back to another Shit Talk Fridays. I'm Gina.
And I'm Evo.
And thank you for joining us again. I know that we weren't here last Friday. We were in Disney.
Well-deserved, long overdue vacation.
But it was a vacation that was filled with a lot of ass work. Like we did, I think I tracked how many steps I took on my watch. I think I took almost 90,000 steps in the 6 days that we were out.
Are you serious?
Yo,
Listen,
we were walking all over.
I don't be looking at that shit.
I know you don't, and that's why I don't even understand why you have a watch. You use it for to tell the time and nothing else.
I use it for that and the messaging and stuff like that, so that I can get my notifications on my wrist. I don't have to pull out my phone out of my pocket. But I've always felt that that whole workout aspect of it, if I don't meet the normal things that one would do, I would get either disappointed or I would get frustrated, and I just didn't want all that pressure. It's too much.
Too much pressure?
Too much, man.
Nah, I feel like I be feeling rewarded every time they were like, Gina, you have reached your achievement.
Nah, I'm good.
I be feeling like the boss. But anyway, hello Edgar, welcome to the stream.
Edgar,
so tonight,
what's up, my man?
Before we get started, I wanted to just take a second to introduce somebody that has been living with us for a little bit, that is looking for a permanent home. And my son Mateo's gonna hand him over. Come here, buddy. Come here. So this is Raul. This is his first time on camera, so he may be a little weird. But say hi real quick.
A little shy.
Say hi.
But really friendly. We promise.
No, he is really friendly. His name is Raul. He's been with us since August. He's looking for a permanent home. He is between the ages of 3 to 5 years old, that the veterinarian said. He has all of his vaccinations. He is scheduled to get his neutering next week. There was a little bit of a delay on that just for purposes of funding, but we received multiple donations for him. He is looking for a permanent home, a loving home. I think that Raul would do fantastic in a home where there are children that probably know how to be around an animal, that are loving. Because he's, it's been kind of stressful for him the last couple of months, coming off of the streets. And then I also think that he would really be great in a home if there's maybe just a couple or a person, a single person, or maybe an elderly person that's just willing to give him a lot of love and attention, because boy does he need it. But say bye to everybody, Raul.
And he loves belly rubs, which is very unusual for a cat.
All right, I'll see you later, buddy.
So if you can find yourself a cat that loves belly rubs, then you have a cat that is very affectionate.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mateo. So Mateo's gonna take him now because he's not used to being around here. He'll probably meow a lot. But I just wanted to take that hot second to introduce him. So tonight, for our show, we decided that we were going to piggyback off of a conversation that we had 2 weeks ago on Friday. And the reason why we decided to piggyback off of that conversation is because we had a video on TikTok go viral where we talk about I actually want to say where you talk about. That's why I'm like
right. Well, we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
I bring up something that is called post-nut clarity,
which we found out is called post-nut clarity.
We found out it's called post-nut clarity, and basically what it is the point in a person's life where they are going through their sexual experiences and coming to a mental clarity after having had an orgasm. Mm-hmm. So they enter the situation with the urge and the intent to have sex, and then once that is gone, they're fed the dopamine that they need, and once that all settles, then all of a sudden they have a moment of clarity where they're realizing that what they were doing was just for physical sex and not much else.
Yeah.
And so it's called post-nut clarity, and it sparked
quite a bit of controversy, which is kind of our thing.
It definitely did. It was good. It's great.
Which was really interesting because we found it to be really like split right down the middle how
Yeah.
people felt about
was, yeah.
this opinion of yours. But before we get deep into it, yo, we didn't cheers.
We did it. So this cheers, so that video on TikTok is up over 1 million views right now and going. So we want to cheers to that, because that's something that we've been striving for, to get up to that 1 million mark. And thank you all for tuning in, and I'm glad that you enjoyed the video.
And the wine that we're drinking tonight is the same wine that we had the last Friday, which is, it's called Whitehaven. It is a Sauvignon Blanc, and it has become a favorite in our household.
Yeah, surprisingly.
And this bottle came all the way from Florida.
Yes. And this was introduced to you by
my aunt who lives in Florida.
Yes,
yeah.
So thank you, Melissa.
And the reason why we say it came from Florida is because we bought it when we were in Florida, and then we realized that like maybe we bought a little bit too much, and we were like, we're gonna bring this shit home.
We went through a couple of bottles of these in Florida.
We sure did.
Yeah, we did.
So to continue the conversation, the reason why I found the comments so interesting was because there was such a split of how people felt about your opinion on like what is we now to understand to be post-nut clarity. And there was a divide where a lot of men and women fully agree with what you said. They fully just were like, what he's saying is 100% factual. And then there was on the other side of that a lot of people that were like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? He's talking complete nonsense. I am not that man. But what I do think is that the men that potentially are like this are not evolved. They haven't matured. So he doesn't speak for all men. But what I found interesting about those type of commenters was that they're still acknowledging that that type of man does exist. That there are men that will engage in something with a woman and not be 100% sure knowing how they feel about her until after they have had sex with her, because then they receive this post-nut clarity. And the reason why I found that to be interesting was because if there are men out there that are like this, there were people in the comments that were discouraging women from listening to you. And why I found that to be kind of like nonsensical is because shouldn't they should be listening to you, because if there are men out there like that, then they should be kind of like on, I don't want to say the defense, but they should be, I guess, on have some sort of awareness of this potential type of man if that's not something that they're looking to do. Because there are some women that are just looking to engage in something sexual, but if they're looking to like seriously date, then maybe they want to steer clear of a man that is potentially like this.
Well, I think that the most important part of the clip was the beginning where I said, you have a guy. And I feel like people really overlooked that part and really just got caught up in the story of the guy that I was describing. And I was describing one person, not all men. And I was describing something that happens, something that is typical, you know, in men. But if, you know, they do eventually evolve and get to know themselves better and search for something a little bit deeper and more meaningful when they meet a woman. But unfortunately, not all men evolve, and some still go about their lives in this manner, and they don't really realize how they feel until after the post-nut clarity. They just never get out of that mentality. But I wasn't speaking for every man out there. I was speaking actually a little bit about myself, you know, in my younger years.
Yeah.
And how I evolved out of that eventually. But it's just hard, you know, when you have these videos and they're kind of like, they're clipped. You know, it's hard for people to get the full scope of what the conversation was.
Well, luckily, that clip was able to drive a lot of people to then watch our full live and to really get a better understanding of what it was that you were talking about, which I thought was fantastic. Yeah. And in addition to that, you know, these comments, like, they really just got me thinking about, okay, fine, there are men that are potentially like this, right? What created a man to have that type of approach with a woman? That's what got me, like, That's what the comments really got me thinking about. Because if this is in fact a thing, I know it is somewhat hormone driven. Because I did do a little bit of reading into it. There is no scientific proof that that is actually like considered a thing. But hormones definitely are a factor when it comes to sex, as a whole.
Absolutely.
So I was just wondering, like, what kind of gives a man this mindset that he is initially not self-aware, but he's really just like driven by his drive to want to have sex. So like I kind of have like a hypothesis of how this potentially develops in men. And this is based off of kind of like my own experience with when I started to really see men as someone I wanted to date or someone I wanted to have sex with. So like this is my own hypothesis, and this is not like, I'm not trying to speak for men, because that is something that I got told in the comments a lot, like she can't speak for men on a whole nother post. And what I was thinking is that I think men at a certain point in their like younger years, when they're really starting to date women and trying to start to feel out like what they like about a girl or like what they don't like about a girl, I feel like they potentially start to like categorize girls, or even more so like they will catalog a girl. And what I mean by that is they will put girls in like certain boxes. So maybe their circle of friends tell them that there are girls that they're DTF, or this girl gets around, or this girl kind of likes you, and then they kind of just start to put girls in like to that category, maybe based on their experience with them. Okay, so this girl, she was willing to have sex with me right away. This girl was willing to give me oral. She dresses a certain way, she kind of acts a certain way. These are this type of girl. And then there are girls that maybe they're interested in, and those girls don't really give them as much attention as they're used to. These are the girls that like, these bitches are annoying. They start to put girls in these categories, and I feel like, hear me out, that continues. And then what winds up happening is that they then meet girls later on in their life, and the girl never has even a chance, because this man already has a preconceived notion of what type of girl this is.
Yeah.
Because maybe he meets her in an environment that he has in a catalog. He met her in a bar. She's dressed a little skimpy or whatever it is. He's already like, this is the type of girl that I want to have sex with. This is the type of girl that maybe I want to get to know. And this is the type of girl I just want to stay the fuck away from. A man is not going into it with an open mind. And you and I were talking about this, and then you shared an experience with me that you had when you were younger that took you from this post-clarity guy to like the more self-aware man that you are. And I found that story so interesting. So like I kind of wanted you to like share it with us so that people can kind of maybe understand like how you made that transition.
Well, so before I jump into that, I kind of want to elaborate a little bit on a comment that I had with one of our viewers and on TikTok. And, we were going back and forth, and she was kind of like saying how she felt about it. And I was trying to give her a better understanding of what the comment was truly about. And she was basically kind of like disgusted with the way that, a man would carry himself in that manner. She felt like that was disgusting. And the best explanation that I could give her was that, when a woman or young girl is ovulating, that is kind of like the peak of their hormonal cycle. Like they go in cycles. And when they're peaking in that hormonal cycle, their sex drive kind of like ramps up in that cycle, because of the hormone boost.
Okay.
And then they go through their menstrual, and that cycle ends, and but I feel like a woman's sex drive kind of like is like through their cycle is up and down. Some moments they're really not interested in sex, or not really, and other moments in the month their sex drive is higher. And men don't have cycles. They're just on all the time. As soon as they start, that testosterone kicks in and they start hitting puberty, it is on. So that's kind of the reason why males are always looking to have sex because it doesn't go away. I mean, men wake up with erections in the morning, from when they're boys and they start going into puberty. I mean, you wake up and it's just like this. So, when you couple that with, an experience like speaking for myself, I lost my virginity when I was 12, right? Very early. I was very young and I was very immature. And it wasn't to a girl that I was in a relationship with.
Can I be honest? That's very shocking to me.
Well, I mean, for some people it is. It's very shocking, and it was just the way that it happened to play out. She was actually older than I was. And we weren't in a relationship. So
okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, so my first sexual experience was just physical. There was no relationship behind it. So I was able to achieve sexual satisfaction with someone who I wasn't in a relationship with. So moving forward, that's all I strived for, was to repeat that sexual satisfaction. That was my desire. I wanted to replicate that moment, just linking up or getting together with a woman or a girl and achieving sex. I had no desire for a relationship because I never had one. So I spent like a couple of years just being that person, pursuing that, and not really understanding how I felt about a girl because I was going through that post-nut clarity syndrome.
But can I just say, I want to say two things. Number one, you've told me about this before, so it's not new to me. But I'm just saying that I find it shocking because at 12 years old, had you gone through full puberty yet?
I want to say yeah.
So at 12, you had gone through all the stages of male puberty.
I mean, I don't want to say. Well, I think at 12 years old, you're still developing as an adolescent teen.
But you're not even a teenager yet.
Right, I wasn't a teenager yet, but I mean, I was totally capable.
Okay, so from 12 to maybe 18, was there a significant change in your body and your
not
like
much, no.
Okay.
No, not much, no. So, but from 12 to 16, I was that guy that was, purely pursuing girls for sex.
Okay.
Right? I lacked that relationship experience. Right? And it wasn't until I met someone.
Wait, I had a before you continue, I said I had two things. So, one was I just needed to understand like if you had gone through full puberty, because the reason why I find that more shocking is because at 12 years old, some people have gone through parts of puberty. I'm thinking about it more on a girl aspect. For me, 12, I had just begun the peak of puberty. I wasn't fully consider myself a young woman until I was about 14. So that's why I find
I will tell you, at 12 years old, I could have got a girl pregnant.
Okay. So no, okay, I'm not.
I mean, I don't really know how much further puberty can take you. I mean, the only difference that's happening from that point on is just the growth in my body.
Yeah,
like
that's what I was asking
the development of muscles, like and like my
change
growth
in your voice.
And the change. I mean, yeah, I kind of like already was at that stage around that age.
So, but my point to you is that you weren't fully done with puberty yet. So so to me, you were still considered a child. So that's why I find that kind of shocking.
Okay. Fine.
At 12,
okay.
You're not even a teenager. You're still considered a child.
Okay. Well.
So that's why I say I find that kind of shocking. So then my second point was, you remember how I started this conversation off when I said that I feel like boys and young men will have a particular interaction with a woman, and then they will then start to categorize women based on their first initial interactions with women. And I feel like you right there proved my point. You said that one of your first sexual interactions with a girl was purely sexual. And if I'm not mistaken, was this not like set up by friends and like cousins or something like that?
Yeah, well, I used to hang out with an older group of friends.
Okay.
And they thought it would be a great idea to set me up with one of their friends.
Okay. So... in addition to what I said earlier was I said that men may have a preconceived notion of what women or young girls are about based on their interactions with girls or things that they may have heard from their friends or the way that their friends or people in their circle introduce girls to them. And that's exactly what happened to you. You were put in a position where your friends thought that something would be good for you, right? It was purely like, we're going to let Evo experience this and this girl's going to give him what we want him to receive. And then that started you off on this whole journey of approaching girls for this post-nut clarity. So right. It kind of proves my hypothesis in a way.
I mean, I'm just speaking. I'm speaking from myself and my own personal experience. That's not to say that there aren't guys out there that meet a girl and it is a relationship. Yeah. And their first experience is with their girlfriend. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, but I can only imagine that, most adolescent boys and teenagers, they're so pumped full of hormones that most of their first experiences probably are not in relationships. Okay. You know what I mean? And so I'm just speaking for myself here. It wasn't until from the age of 12 to 16 that, I spent those 4 years kind of just pursuing that feeling. Yeah. And by chance, I met someone that I had no intentions on pursuing. I actually, I went on a double date with my brother, kind of just because he asked me to, and the girl that he was dating at the time, she had a cousin, and he asked me to come along just so that there wasn't a third wheel, and I didn't want to go because I had other plans and I had other things that I wanted to do, but I was quote unquote taking one for the team. Mm-hmm. It turned out to be a very pivotal moment in my life, and so totally unexpected thing happened. Me and this girl, we end up hitting it off, really well, as far as we had just a very good chemistry, talking and playing around and being, young kids, just kind of really liking each other. And so all of a sudden my interest in her was very different, and the way that I looked at her was very different than I was looking at other girls. I just immediately I wasn't looking to pursue her for any type of physical or sexual experience. And so I got to know her before the sexual interest came, as to where prior, you're hanging out with your boys, you're looking to see how you can kind of hook up with a girl and maybe sleep with her. And so you're trying to figure out how you can get that happen, whether through friends or groups or which girl maybe likes you, and that's kind of your objective at that age.
Well, it was your objective based on your experience.
That was my objective based on my experience at that age, right?
Because like you said prior, that's not everyone's
That's experience. Not everybody's experience. That was the way that I was going about my life at that time. And so I was going about my life, seeing how I could replicate this experience that I had so that I could satisfy this desire to mate, to have sex. And so I, met this girl and got to know her and really started to like her as a person. We ended up in a relationship. I started to date her, see her a lot more. I really started to be around her. She actually, made me laugh a lot, which was more than I was experiencing with these girls that I was sleeping around with. And I was just experiencing just this whole new thing that I just didn't know existed, which is, actually having fun with a person, right? And getting to know them and, what relationships are about. Mm-hmm. So we kind of developed this relationship. And all of a sudden I saw myself, I was in a place where I wasn't seeking out these other girls anymore. Mm-hmm. All I wanted to do was spend time with this one girl. And it totally blindsided me. And we dated for about 6 months. Mm-hmm. She was a senior, I was a sophomore. She ended up graduating and she went away to her country for 2 months, and I was sick when she was gone. And when she came back, I was so excited for her to come back. And when she came back like this whole other person. and she actually ended up breaking up with me when she came back. Like, that was like one of the first things she did, and I was just destroyed, and I couldn't understand it. And she gave me this thing about moving on to college, and it just that she didn't see herself being with a high schooler while she was in college, and I kind of just was like, all right, fine, but I was just crushed. And I had this moment of clarity where I was finally, I realized at that moment that I was hurting all these girls. Prior to meeting her, I was hurting all these girls because I finally realized that they actually liked me, and I was just kind of just going about being with them in any which way just so that I could sleep with them, because I had no desire to be in a relationship with them. And I would dismiss them once I had no more interest in them, and that's exactly what she did to me. She no longer had interest in being with me, and then it ended up dismissing me, like I was nothing. Just really kind of just dropped me to the curb. And two things happened. I vowed never ever to do that to a girl ever again. I had no clue that I was doing that, and I deserved what she did to me, based on everything that I did to those girls. I totally had that coming. That's karma at its finest. And two, the takeaway was that I wanted to live in that moment for the rest of my life. That lust, that bliss, that happiness, that joy, that nothing else matters. I experienced that at 16 years old, and I knew that I didn't want anything else. I didn't care what it took, but I needed to replicate that moment, because that was the best thing at that point that I had ever experienced with another person.
Two things. Number one, you just created a new word. I don't know if you heard yourself. You said blust.
I said blust,
which was
I meant bliss.
Bliss and lust.
That's what it was. It was blust.
We gonna get that trending.
Yeah.
Blust. Something you said really kind of struck me. You said that you had no idea what you were doing to these girls. Can I hang on?
Yes, of course, sure.
Are you claiming that you were doing this with no acknowledgement of your actions towards these girls?
I had no idea what I was. Okay, I'm sorry. I had no idea how I was making them feel.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
Thank you for clearing that up, because it makes it sound like you had no understanding of your own actions.
No, I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how I was making them feel.
I needed that difference.
Yeah.
Because that I can see happening. It almost makes this, when the way you said it before, almost makes it sound like you were in a car but you weren't the driver type shit,
Yeah, I can see how you got that from that.
So you said that because of your experience with this, which I would consider your first love.
Yeah, we can. I mean, it's safe to say that she was definitely my first love.
Okay, so this young woman, she helped you pivot. Can you see how the interaction with women and a man, or a young man rather, is what really then potentially sets that man off on a particular path?
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, I'm going to preface this by saying this does not every man, because,
No.
Like, people come for us in the sense of like, she don't speak for us, or like, he doesn't speak for every man. Yes, absolutely so. But I think that you as a man can speak for some men, because you have quite a few male friends. You have quite a few male family members, and you have been on this earth to be around many males, as far as like work and going out and being social. So to say that you can't speak for men, I don't know. You can't speak for all men, but you damn sure can speak for a good portion of them. And I'm just looking at this like, it's interesting to me how influential a woman can be to a man's journey, as far as like how he continues to date a woman. So it almost kind of makes me think about how much power women have in regards to their interaction with a man. And sometimes I think girls young girls especially, don't understand the power that they wield when it comes to how they interact with a man. And you and I, again, we were talking about this in the aspect of how girls are conditioned in their younger years to really adhere to a man's ego. And young girls are kind of taught to bend in the situations of, like, I guess the best example I can give you is when girls are little and boys maybe are physical with them. And I'm talking about, middle school and grade school. When a boy may hit a girl or pull her hair or whatever it is. How many times have you heard the saying of, oh, he does that because he likes you?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Okay. Or when a boy teases a girl, those same things are taught. So girls are being conditioned to accept a man in a way where he's not potentially presenting his true feelings. Like, we're taught that from young. So I think sometimes girls go into things, and I'm also speaking for myself, because I think I can say confidently that I did this in my younger years. I definitely appeased a man's ego, or a young man's ego, and I would make them feel good about themselves in times where they weren't really performing or acting what I would think would be their best selves. But I was doing it because in society, we are led to think that, the man is the head of the household, or the man is going to be the person that's going to protect you, and he's going to be the person that's going to take care of you. So if you're stronger than him, as far as like emotionally or financially, you're more well off than him, or in any regard where you potentially are in a better situation than him, that could potentially be harmful to the situation. You may steer clear of that. So the best way I can think about it is like when you're interacting sexually with a man, and maybe he doesn't perform in a way that you were hoping, you will just be like, it's okay, it happens to everybody. Like, girls will do that shit.
Yeah, well, I think that there's something to say to the fact that it's almost amazing the lengths that a man will go to please a woman, if the woman compliments him in many ways. So if a man, if a man with a solid head on his shoulders is complimented by a woman that supports him in the ways that he needs, what that man will do for that woman is almost mind-blowing. But it takes that woman to be that role in that man's life. Like, there is not one without the other, and I speak this from experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At one point I wasn't mentally and in the blessed place in my life, and when we met and when we got together, I feel like that added a chemistry to my life that was needed, and it set me off in a trajectory that almost sent me into outer space. And so I feel like that comment that you've made, where girls are conditioned to be a certain way, I feel like that part of it is to fit into that mold, so that a woman can fit into that link with a man and be that for that man. But there's a whole bunch of mess that comes with it when you act that way, that I think needs a lot of work. And so I get what you're saying, but I feel like there is a flip side to that there's a reason, a rational reasoning behind that, a positive behind that conditioning.
Yes. And again, I think you and I talked about this a little bit, about how boys and girls are raised from when they're young. Yeah. And we touched on our conversation, but I want to leave that for another time. Sure. But we talked about how young boys are basically not really shown to embrace their emotions, but young girls are. So then we grow up very differently.
Mm-hmm.
And then young men will interact with a girl a certain way and a girl will interact with a young man a certain way. But it's interesting that you said that when you met me, I fit that chemistry for you. But I think I fit that chemistry for you based on another interaction that you had in your life previous to me. And this was after your first love, because then you and I have had these conversations many times over the several years that we've been together. But I've heard about this story about your first love many times, but I'm hearing it very differently now because we're like deep diving into what that means. And then I found another puzzle piece in that whole story of yours. And once you were on this trajectory of finding this love that you were so wanting based on that first experience that you had, you then came across another young woman in your life that then I would almost say helped you find that chemistry with me.
Yes.
And you understood that value.
Right.
And like, I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Right. So here I am, recap, young adolescent teen, 12 years old, going through the post
Not a teen at 12.
Okay. Well, I'm just about to 12 to 13, right? I like to consider myself that. All right. But a young adolescent, experiences sex at a very early age, goes through the post-nut clarity syndrome, has a very fortunate turn of event and falls for someone and realizes that there's more to a relationship than a physical experience.
You had an awakening.
I had an awakening. And that happened at 16. And then at the age of 16, I spent years. That was a very short-lived relationship. But I got the most amazing awakening out of it. And it made me realize that I wanted to live in that moment for the rest of my life. So I spent many years after that trying to recreate that and just gone through failed attempts after failed attempts after failed attempts, because it was hard to find someone at the age of 16 that wanted to be in a serious relationship.
Yeah.
You're dealing with young girls that are very much about, they want the attention, they want the limelight, and especially the ones that I was pursuing. They really loved being the center of attention. Yeah. And if they got it from every direction, they gobbled it up, so there was a lot of games going on, a lot of immature girls in ways, dealing with that. And in that journey, I ended up dating a girl who had a kid. And surprisingly, at that point I wasn't opposed to kids, and surprisingly, it was very refreshing because now I'm with someone that is seeing life a bit differently than than the girls that I'm used to dating, and she was just the best way that I could describe it. She was not about playing games. She had a child, and she wasn't looking to.
She wasn't looking to beat around the bush.
She wasn't looking to beat around the bush. She was very straightforward about the way that she felt. She was what she wanted, how she felt about me. She was very open, you know what I mean? And like there was not much that I needed to dig into. She really put it out on the table, which wasn't used to that. And she was looking for stability, which is what I was looking for. You know what I mean? But it all came out from the jump. You know what I mean? And that was very refreshing. That didn't last long, because I guess it was my first experience, and there was some things that happened with her parents that I just, it's important for me to be getting along with the person that I'm dating's parents. I didn't get along with her parent, and
but if I remember correctly, it wasn't because of anything on your end.
Yeah, it wasn't.
She was experiencing some family issues prior to your relationship.
Yes, she was. And it spilled over into our relationship. Yeah. And it was spilled over into our relationship directly at me. Yeah. Like it came directed to me. Yeah. So I knew it was there and I was okay with it as long as it didn't directly affect me. But one day it came directed at me and I just wasn't ready for that, So, that ended. But the takeaway for me for that was that, women with kids they're built a little different.
Yeah, and I think what's so interesting about that is that you and I more recently have seen a lot of things on social media where a lot of men are coming out saying that it is not a good idea to date women with
Yeah.
children. And you and I'm going to speak for you right now, but I'm going to say that you and I were like immediately disgusted by that, because I myself am a woman that had children young and then dated men that had children. And then you dated me having 2 children previous to our relationship. And the reason why we were so disgusted in it is because a lot of the men that were on social media showing opposition to this type of relationship were really basing the situation of dating a person with children, or more so a woman with children, that this woman is potentially considered a lower value woman because she already has had children with another person. And why I find that so astonishing is that it was a man that created those women, that created those children with a
Yeah.
woman, and now here's another man looking at that woman like she is less value because another person in his species decided to not be part of those children's lives or consummate their relationship,
Yeah.
which I find so astonishing. And whether it be the woman's fault, and when I say fault, because sometimes in a relationship there can be something that happens in a relationship that could be the fault of a person. She could have done something to that relationship that had severed it, or the man could have done something that severed the relationship. And again, I speak from experience. I have been in situations where I have done something that has severed a relationship. So when someone is at fault in a relationship and then they choose to separate, or whatever the reason is that they choose to separate, should that then make the person less valuable because now they have children? And that's why I feel like I was so disgusted by it, because a person having a situation in their life that led them to have children should not diminish their value as a person. And that's why I found that so disgusting.
Well, so I'm gonna play both sides of the coin here for a
Play
second.
devil's advocate.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Please
and
do.
so, by no, don't get it twisted. I am not trying to take away from the fact that dating someone who has kids can get very complicated.
Oh yes,
Okay.
I would 1000% agree with that.
I feel like that itself brings a stigma onto
Mm-hmm.
a woman or a man who already has children.
Mm-hmm.
You have someone that is that you're now all of a sudden your role in that situation, if you choose to date them, is very much so like dancing on a fine line. You have to be careful, that you have to be wary of the relationship that the person that you're dating has with the separated parent.
Mm-hmm.
What that relationship is like.
Absentee parent.
The absentee parent, what that relationship like. Is it really separated, or is there something going on still in the background?
Mm-hmm.
You also have to be very mindful on the role and the position you play in the relationship going into it. You really have to give it time to develop. You have to give time to the kids to accept your presence. Especially you have to be able to analyze that if the kids are in a situation where they still want the mom and dad to be together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That in itself is very important, because that's going to determine whether they accept you or not, or how they accept you. Are you co-parenting? Are you going to be a blended thing, or do you have to step into that role of the parent because the other parent is now absent?
Yeah, there is definitely
there's a big complexity that goes behind it, and it takes a particular type of person to be able to step into that role. It's not built for everybody. But I think that people in that position deserve a second chance at love. They deserve to be happy. They deserve to be a family. Even if it didn't work out the first time, that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be available to them ever in life. And I think that if they can find someone who can give them that opportunity, that they will do right by that person. The person who has a child that meets someone who does right by them, and they're willing to do right by that person, I think that second chance, they will make that person feel like they are on top of the world. And that's what I was looking for. I just wanted to be on top. I wanted to feel like I was on top of the world, and I wanted to treat somebody like they were on top of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time I felt that in that whole journey was when I dated that one girl who had a kid. And so it just really opened my mind to, like, you know, women who have children, the right woman who has a children, who's not looking to play games and is looking.
The right woman who has a child.
The right woman who has a child is not looking to play games. If that woman meets a guy who is willing to give her and her child a chance and do the right thing by her, man, I'm trying to tell you, this is not an uncommon thing. And when this match is made, these people usually go on to get married and live happily ever after. We are case in point.
Correct. But I do know of other situations like this where I have seen this happen and it be blissful. And it's because of exactly what you just said. There is such a honoring of the person that has decided to enter into that union or that relationship that the mother has with their child or children, and accepts them and loves them, and is willing to be what that person needs them to be, because you stated that there's so many factors. Does that woman or man need you to cope? Does that person need you to be a co-parent? Do they need you to be blended? Do they need you to step in as potentially the new father or mother? There's a huge ability for different dynamics in that sense. And I think when you enter into that situation and you are saying, I'm here to be what it is that you need me to be, do I think that the person on the other end is going to be fucking like over the moon? Yeah, of course. Because I think about it in the sense of like my own situation. I had something that went totally fucking down a road that was so destructive. So to then say to myself, how could I then now find happiness with another person when this thing blew up on me? And now I have 2 children that I have to navigate this situation. I have to navigate this other parent. And now I potentially want to bring another person into that whole like calamity of shit. And to know that a person was willing to step into that with me says so much about who that man or woman is.
Yeah. It definitely takes a journey.
For sure.
To get to that point. And, you know, I look back at the years that I've spent growing up and meeting people through numerous employments and things of that, and I found it very mind-blowing that at that point in my life, and still now, I was very much in content with my relationship and who I was as a man and my commitment to my relationship, and had no desires whatsoever to step outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would talk to men who not only were they stepping outside of their current relationship,
mm-hmm.
but as they stood in front of me, were actively looking to pursue other opportunities to get into situations with other women
while they were in a
committed relationship. And I always just wish that I could give them my experience, because I used to be that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, just repeating what I said, from 12 to 16, I was not gonna just deny I was a dog.
Evil, but can I just say,
I know that I know it's hard for you to hear it because you don't know me like that.
No, that has nothing to do with it.
But what I'm saying to you is that I had the fortunate experience to learn different about myself and what I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly truly feel that some people lack that experience, and if they could just have it, that it would send them off in a different trajectory. I've always felt that no matter what you've been through, if you're willing to just take a risk
Mm-hmm.
for something that's much more rewarding, like if that's what you're generally what you want in life, you want commitment, you want love, you want someone, an understanding, you want to be bonded with someone, but that is, it's risk. You have to take a big risk. You have to be vulnerable with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You have to open yourself up, and you have to trust a person
Mm-hmm.
and allow them to get to know you. But I always felt that risk was worth the reward, only because I got to experience it at such a young age. And when I would meet these people and I would see what they're doing with their lives, it just seemed like such chaos to me. And I just wanted to give them a piece of like blissfulness, you know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
just felt like they were just lacking these experiences, and I almost felt bad for them, and I almost felt helpless. And I don't even know what to do in a situation like that. I just sat there and I listened, and I was like, oh yeah, and I just kind of played that guy role where I was like, yo, word, son, you know what I mean? Like, I feel you, ha 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 ha.
But Evo, that speaks a lot to who you are. You and I were just talking upstairs before we came on the live about how you and I approach certain situations where a person may be asking you a question, and I immediately know that it's a shallow question in the sense of like they're prying more than they're looking to learn.
Yeah.
And you will just fucking go full throttle on giving them all of the information, like, I learned it this way and I read this book and A, B, C, D. And meanwhile, I'm standing there like, this person actually does not give a fuck about what you are looking to actually share with them. They just want to hear what you have to say because it helps them potentially feel better about themselves. Or they think that the information that they're receiving from you, they're actually going to absorb it. Absolutely not. The amount of people that will take all of that information that you just gave them and then go off and do the same exact shit that they did the day before happens all the time.
And that's fine.
And that is, you're so right about that. But what I'm telling you is that I'm not willing to waste my energy and time and experience and giving people potentially guidance on a situation when I know that they're going to turn around and throw that shit right in the toilet. That is not me. But you, our hearts and minds are made differently, and the reason why I'm not willing to do that is because I've just learned that a lot of people are designed very differently. So nothing I say to them is actually going to change their trajectory in life. The only thing that is going to do that for them is themselves.
I get that.
So that's why I'm not willing to give them what it is that they think that they need, because they don't even know what the fuck they need.
Right. But where you and I differ on that is that once, and we've spoken about this,
Mm-hmm.
Once I reach a level of happiness in my life,
Yes.
I can't keep it inside.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to give it out. Like, there's just nothing else I can do with it. And so I only feel more happiness by giving you some and giving you some and you some. I just feel like Oprah, like, you get some happiness and you get some happiness and you get some happiness, because I'm full of it.
Yeah.
I'm full of it in that particular subject of matter.
Yeah.
Like, do I need filling of happiness in my life and some other matters? Yeah, sure, probably. But when I'm speaking to someone and I feel like there's a void in their life and there's just something that they're missing, and I've experienced pure bliss in that,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm to the teeth in it, there's nothing more joyful than me of just, here, we'll take some of this,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes me even happier to give them and just give it away. And
Yeah.
I want everybody to be on that level. I want people around me to just be uplifted and to be I just feel like the more happier the people around you, the better the energy exists around you. And even if it doesn't happen, and in most cases it doesn't, like you say, like, it goes in one ear and out the other, and it's the same person, the next day and the next day and the next day.
I love you, but I can't tell you the amount of times that I've watched you do that and it goes nowhere.
And you know what? I have an endless amount of it. It's infinite.
You don't.
I do. I have an infinite amount of that. I really can just keep giving it and giving it. As long as I'm full of it, it exudes out of me. I can't say.
We have been together long enough when I tell you I know this about you. But what I'm saying to you is that it is not. I think what you actually don't know is that it is not something that is infinite. And where I've watched it not work for you is you're giving. And there are times that I have watched you be in a situation where you potentially may need the same guidance that you have given to so many people. And it's not given back to you. And that's why I feel like it's not infinite. Because there are times where you give yourself in a way where you're now depleting your own energy. But now when you need that energy in another aspect, it's not available to you because you gave it to somebody else that didn't deserve that transfer. So that's why there are many times where I will encounter a person and they will say something to me and I immediately know that what they're saying to me is filled with nothing. And I'm not willing to transfer my energy to that person that I have obtained through my own self-awareness and through my own soul searching to give it to them so that they can squander it. Because that is foolish on my part. Do you understand what I'm saying? So
I do, but I don't agree with it.
I know you don't. And that's why you and I are always going to be a yin and a yang. And there's times that I pull you back and I'm like, hey, I know that this makes you happy, but you're going too far right now. Like you're literally about to jump off the deep end. And there's times where
that's your opinion.
Correct. But then there are times that you tell me that I'm not doing enough. Where I need to maybe share a little bit more.
Yes.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
saying?
I agree. I agree with you on that. I feel like that sometimes you need to open up a bit more.
Yes.
You know, about things that have helped you in your life to certain people around you. And that's something that we kind of go back and forth on. But I will tell you this.
Tell me, Evil.
There is nothing that makes me happier. And I say this because I'm speaking from experience. Mm-hmm. I've done this in the past. I don't think I've shared this with you before, but
please don't share it on the live. If you've never shared it with me before.
This is okay. This is okay. I have.
I'm just joking, by the way.
I have talked someone off of the cliff of suicide.
You've shared this with me before,
and that has stuck with me.
Hang on, FYI, Evo has a really bad memory.
In some cases, in a lot of cases, but not in this one. So.
Yes, I remember the story.
That has stuck with me and has created value in my life more so than many things that I've experienced. Mm-hmm. And the reason that happened was because in that moment of time, I found someone with a big void in their life.
Yeah.
And I tried to fill that void with as many things as I could to make them feel different about themselves. Excuse me, in that moment. Mm-hmm. And what came out of that conversation was a confession from that person where they confessed to me that they were so happy that they had that conversation with me. It was a random conversation. I didn't even see this in this person. We just happened to be talking to each other, and then we kind of got deep into a conversation, and all of a sudden they opened up to me about where they were mentally. Mm-hmm. And I backed them off to that ledge. And what came out of that was them telling me that I literally walked them off of the ledge of suicide. They confessed it to me. Mm-hmm. And the sense of empowerment that I felt from that was beyond anything that I've ever felt before. And so I will always take the time to try to fill somebody's void, to know that I could potentially have changed someone's life in that degree. It's something that you cannot buy. You really have to take the time and to put into it for that experience to happen. And it's not something that happens every day. And to say that my experience and my actions were so powerful to be able to change somebody's life that way, it just does something for me that I can't even explain. It really enlightens me from within. And so when like I said, when I have experiences and things that have just, been positive for me, and I meet someone that they're kind of like just unsure about where they are and the situation that they're going through, and I've already fulfilled myself in that light, guess what? I'm dumping it on them. Because if I can just, for one person, if all I need is one person to say that I changed their life based on my own experiences, that makes my own experience, to me, even more valuable. Do you see you see where the reward comes in for me?
Yes,
and that's just my experience, and that's how it works for me. That's not going to work for everybody, but I need you. I just wanted to explain to you how that whole orchestra works for me.
I understand. I have so much to say.
Oh man, come on, Gina.
Fuck my life. I have so much to say about what you just said. But
I think we have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Let's
I'm not sure if I want to say it though.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a snippet, maybe.
All right.
There was something that I found so striking about what you just said to me that I find it to be almost scary.
Okay.
And what you said was the empowerment that I feel when I can feel someone's void is basically exalting to you.
It's the ability to change someone's life
based off your own experience.
Off of my own experiences. Yes, it's
Correct.
sharing. It's sharing something deep and personal that I've gone through, and just by sharing it, changes someone else's life. They're able to learn by an example that I've given them, that I've lived.
I understand. But you were very adamant about saying that you felt empowered by this.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, yeah. I just empowered, uplifted, a rush of dopamine, a sense of higher feeling. Anything that just makes you it gives you this elevated feeling of dopamine, I guess, of just greatness. So maybe I shouldn't have used the word empowerment.
Okay, so maybe I'm getting stuck on the words that you chose.
Yeah, I think that happens sometimes. I use words in a way that I probably shouldn't be using them. Because I actually did that earlier today. So I think that's what's going on here right now.
So when you say empowerment, it makes me feel like you do this to feel. It gives you the feeling of being a level above another person.
No.
Wait, hold on.
All right.
Not in a bad way.
No.
But I know that. I know that it, Evo, I know you. Yeah. I know that when you say that, you don't mean it in a bad way. But it charges you up is what it does. And why I said that I find that scary is because you are finding potentially, because happiness is not measured, only pleasure can be measured. You were looking to find pleasure from potentially filling a void in another person's life. So your own pleasure at certain points are dependent on another person. So why that makes me feel scared for you is because I feel the complete opposite about that. Like, I look at it like I am so content of where I am in my life and who I am as a person that I don't need to share my experiences to feel joy. You talked a lot.
I just want.
Okay. I am so joyful.
Okay.
So again, maybe I'm just stuck on the word of empowerment. And you also said that to know that you change someone's life, like, fills your cup.
It gives me a jolt of joy,
which I think is beautiful. But why I find that scary is because that jolt of joy is dependent on another person.
No, so that's the second time you said that, and I want to stop you there.
Okay.
So in our last episode, I clearly stated that my life has been very much based on being one with the man in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need other people to make me feel better. I don't need experiences with other people to make myself feel better about myself. I've gone through my life coming to terms with my traumas and the things that have gone on in my life, and every day I look at myself, I am very content with who I see in the mirror. What all this is just icing on the cake. It's just something that it joys me to take my traumas and my pains and share that with something else, and that be the bridge for someone to get through what they're getting through.
Yeah, I understand that.
I offer my vulnerability and my pains, okay, as a guidance for someone to get through what it is that they're going through. Okay, it's just me sharing. Here, take what I've been through. I'm opening myself up to you because you're being vulnerable to me, and I hope that this guides you through your journey. Okay, so that almost makes me feel better about actually going through what I went through and coming to terms with what I went through, because I'm able to share it with someone else and give them guidance in that moment of need.
See, that I understand.
Okay,
but
so
when you say that you feel empowered by filling someone's void, I feel very differently about that.
So when I say empowerment, what happens at that moment is the everything in my body just starts to stand up, and the only way I know how to describe that is just it's energy, it's power. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I describe it as an empowerment, because I just feel electric. I'm electrified through that. I'm drawn to it. When I see that opportunity, like I want to deep dive into it, and I want to do what I can to just set that person on their path.
And this is why, and Mr. Jones, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for that.
What's up, my brother? And
this is why very early on in our relationship, I told you that I thought that you needed to be in a field where you helped people.
Yeah, I know. You've mentioned that.
And the amount of times that I have said that to you, I'm not going to say it anymore. I'm saying it on the live now because I know that I've said it so many times. But you have this compassion to want to help people in a way where it is so, what's the word I'm looking for? Unconditional. You have an unconditional want. Like, you don't look at a person that's in need and say, okay, I'm going to share this information with you, but somewhere down the road, I expect you to
you
reciprocate.
Owe me something. Yeah, you owe me something.
No, it is literally coming from you from pure want and desire to just help. And I know this about you, Evo. And again, this is why I will say that you and I are yin and yang, because you and I see those things very differently.
Yes, we do.
But I knew this about you very early on from experiences where we would be out in a group of, 10 girls, and one of them would be going through something with a guy, and they would be talking to me, and I'd be like, I'll be right back. And I would go and get you, and I would sit you down, and I would go, talk to her.
She needs to talk to you.
Please talk to her about what she's going through, because I don't have the capacity that you obtained, that you possessed. So trust me, I know this about you. But I was a little struck in when you said empowerment because I didn't know that. I didn't know that potentially you felt empowered by it. But I understand when you say it electrifies you.
Yes.
I understand that because there are times where I create things. I do art and I feel that electricity. So like I understand that. And so it is 9:10 right now. And I just want to say that like this conversation has been quite beautiful. That I think that
Agreed.
we have really touched on a lot of things. And I know that this live is like Cold Shit Talk Fridays. And people may be like, where's the shit talking? But this is shit talking for us because I feel like a lot of people will not talk about these type of things. Like talking about dating people with children, or talking about like friends with benefits, or talking about like post-nut clarity. I feel like these are conversations that people sometimes will stray away from because it is not like the social norm to have these type of conversations. I can't tell you how many times I've been in situations where someone will bring something up and I literally have to bite my fucking tongue because I'm just like, You really don't know what I want to have to say about this. Because if you did, you would be fucking offended. Because I'm going to say what it is that's truly on my mind. So a lot of times I just bow down and I bow out and I
Right.
just don't say anything. Because I've learned that a lot of people don't want to hear the truth about things. And that has transferred to TikTok and social media, because I've noticed that a lot of times when I say things that are very like off the cuff, people come and attack me on social media, and I'm noticing that it's triggering a lot of people, and I'm not doing or saying to trigger people. I'm just actually like talking off the dome. And I notice that a lot of people don't do that. They really curate the shit that they're putting out. And I'm not curating this. Like, you and I, we talk about what we're going to talk about, but a lot of what is said on this live is so fucking raw.
Yes, it is. We have a base of topics that we talk about
For sure.
but the rest of it is just very much
That shit is ODB fucking raw.
Yeah. What do you call it? It's very much improv.
Yeah, improvisation for
Yeah.
1000%. And but I said ODB raw because his baby, I
Yeah.
like it raw. And I just saw that the Wu-Tang series on Showtime just got renewed for a third and final season. I have yet to watch it.
And speaking of Wu-Tang, we just seen something that is amazing.
Yes, that one album that they sold to that one person that bought it exclusively, that is going to be soon available to the whole population.
So the scumbag of a pharmaceutical guy, dirtbag who raised the price of a drug that cost next to nothing, like 100,000%, and don't quote me on that number, but it was just something just astronomically just
if I'm not
dumb
mistaken,
and
it was
corporately greedy.
It was actually a drug for HIV.
Something, yes, I don't, yeah, but because in that whole like chaos of this guy doing this, he bought an album that Wu-Tang made for $1 million, I believe, right, or $2 million.
If I'm not mistaken, it was an undisclosed amount.
No. It is.
Is it?
Yeah, no, he definitely, he paid like $1 million or $2 million, right?
If anybody in the audience right now can actually fact check that for us, was there a disclosed amount of the purchase price of this one unique Wu-Tang album that was sold to this fucking asshole?
It was a body of work made by Wu-Tang, and it was one album that was made, no copies ever made of it, and this guy bought it for like $1 million or $2 million, and when he bought it, he was boasting online how nobody would ever hear the album.
I remember this.
Yes, and
I
nobody
remember
has
being like,
heard it.
What in the fuck?
Nobody
I'm from
has
Staten
heard
Island.
it, and he actually ended up going to jail for what he did with this drug. A group of, and forgive me for like not having all the information, but there's a group of people on the internet, and I believe they're cryptocurrency related, have pulled money together and have bought the album back from this person for I think about $3 to $4 million.
Wow.
Yes, and they're now working with Wu-Tang to try to release the body of work, and that
a bitch is excited about that.
Super exciting.
I actually just spoke to somebody about this on social media, and I said to them, the only thing that I claim from Staten Island is Wu-Tang. And I think that this person is also from Staten Island. And this person was like, same here. I draw the line at that shit. Like, that's the only thing that I claim. But so we have about 15 minutes left on the live. And when I tell you that this shit fucking flies when we're on this, because like sometimes I feel bad because I look to the left sometimes and I'm time checking and I'm looking at our notes. But when I tell you, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, we've already been talking for 45 minutes. What in all fucks?
Time flies.
This is how I know that, like, because when I first started listening to Joe Rogan, which was like, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, I used to be like, wow, this man has the ability to talk to these people for up to 3 hours.
And sometimes 3.5 hours.
Yeah. And more recently, he actually had a 2-part segment where he talked to somebody for 6 fucking hours.
No shit.
Yo.
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, and honestly, I at first was just kind of like, how is that even possible? Because I find it, we're so used to watching edited TV, edited conversations, edited interviews. So we don't know all of what goes in what we call BTS, like, behind the scenes. And I can tell you that a person that works in the industry, there's so much that goes on that people don't see. And because our show is live, they see everything. Like, you see me fidgeting with my fucking dress. You hear Evo sniffling. Like, there's no editing that's going on in this whole factor.
Yeah.
Or the amount of times that I find something on my face.
Can I say it?
What?
Fuck it. Do it live.
Yeah, fuck it. Do it
live.
So I'm always so mind blown how I look at the clock and it's like now 9:15. I'm just like, holy shit, we only have 15 minutes to the end of the live. We potentially could go longer, but the problem with that is that I then have to go back and rewatch, I don't know, like 2 hours worth of footage, which I potentially don't mind, but it is I'm a one-man band when it comes to that kind of shit, so it's not that easy. Anyway, let's get into our top 5 for the night.
Let's do it.
Because earlier in the hour, we were talking about dating people with children. And because I feel like this is a topic that has become so fucking spoken about on social, I feel like there's still some sort of this like weird taboo about it. And like, we just want to tell people that potentially are interested in dating someone that has children. Because Evo could speak to that. He dated a woman and married a woman that had 2 children previous to our relationship.
And we are, please let them know how many years in?
We are 12 years, about to be 12 years married. And we are, oh my God, that's going to be like, wait, so when we got married, we had already been together 5 years.
Yeah.
Wow, so like 17 years.
Yeah,
that we've been 17 years we have been together, 12 years married. But I've known you for 21 years at this point.
Yeah, so
because we dated previous and then got back together.
Right.
But I've known Evo since fucking 2000, and we about to be 2022. So shit is about to be 22 years. You know what's so funny to me about that is that someone on TikTok was like, that's what happens when younger women date older men. I was like, we are the same age.
We're literally the same age. And let this be an example that it is not taboo or there's nothing wrong with dating a person who has kids. And it can work out and those people can live a long and happy life as long as it's done properly, carefully, and strategically. I mean, I can't tell you how untaboo this has been.
Wasn't there a show like on Showtime or something like that?
It's called Taboo.
Yeah, Taboo. Right.
Taboo.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, going into our top 5.
Yeah, thank you, because you know what? I always feel like people are like, it's the controversy. I'm like, bitch, we about to get into it right now.
I mean, listen, this just dating a person with children, that in itself is controversial.
Which is so ridiculous.
It is kind of ridiculous, but you know what it is. It can it's the complexity that I think that makes it controversial and taboo. But so, all right, going into our top 5. All right, going into our top 5 things that you should not do when dating a person with children. Mm-hmm. Coming in at number 5, things that you should not do while dating a person with children is introducing the children to your significant other before you've actually established a relationship with this person.
Correct.
Right? Premature introduction to the children of a significant other can really lead to like confusion in a child's life. You really want that child to just know nothing but their biological parent until it's really, really for certain that the person that you're introducing them to is someone that's going to complement them in life.
Evo, when I say that you said that to absolute perfection just now,
I speak from experience.
Yes. And that is something that I have made you very aware of.
Yes, and I'm speaking from experience. I had to wait quite some time before I met.
I would say that the first time that you met my 2 boys previous to our marriage or relationship was about, now that I'm thinking about it, probably like 6 months.
It was around there. Yeah. I mean, I'm not the greatest with dates.
Yeah. I'm just trying, because I remember when we reestablished like a dating, it was in the winter. You did not meet my children until like late that summer, early that fall.
Yeah.
because you and I decided that we were going to go back into it slowly, that it was going to be more casual. And I was not willing to introduce my children to a man that I was dating casually, and it was not serious, because if it did not work out, that is just like a man that I introduced into their life that was completely fucking pointless.
I mean, listen, at the end
and that's my perspective.
At the end of the day, there's levels to this shit. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta go through those levels. Like you do not speed past go, and you do not try to collect $200. Like you have to play this shit strategically in a way that, in the end, everything lines up perfectly. I mean, it is that essential for the longevity of the relationship. All right. So men, women out there dating, you have kids, you're meeting significant others. Listen, draw it out. You know what I'm saying? Like that person that you're dating, you really want to draw them out. You want to like you want to find out their true colors as best as possible before you introduce them to your kids. And I know that there is that urge to want to like really
like blend
it and make it happen, but only quote unquote fools rush in.
You know, Evo, I think it goes a little bit deeper. You want to make sure that the person is worthy of meeting your children.
Yeah, of course.
Because children are very impressionable.
Yeah.
And they will meet someone and they think that person's funny or fun or whatever it is. And then let's say it doesn't work out, and then this person exits their life. That can be traumatic in so many different ways. And again, I speak from experience. My mother and my father separated, or divorced rather, when I was 7. And I remember my mother dating several men after the separation from my father, divorce of my father, and her introducing me to these men, and these men trying to play a role in my life that was not their role to play. And that really being an influential factor in my life about how I then went about introducing men into my children's life. Because I remember what it did to me. I remember these men trying to enforce rules and try to enforce a direction in my life when they didn't even know who I really was as a person.
Right.
And I just said to myself, I never want that to be the situation with my own children. Especially, you hear so many things about men or women leaving their children with a person that is their, girlfriend or boyfriend, and something horrific fucking happening because you don't even know who the fuck this person really is. So until you know that is going to be a serious relationship, or you're going to like maybe embark on something that is really going to be a journey, do not introduce your children. And I don't care what you have to do to maneuver around that particular difficulty, because I know it can be difficult. There's times that you have your kids that this person may want to see you, or whatever it is. Whatever you have to do to make it work that way, that needs to be done. And I honestly I feel so strongly about that there's no wavering. And ladies and gentlemen, you were lucky that's number 5, because when I tell you that is like a commandment for me, you don't do that shit.
Listen, when it comes to introducing your children to the person that you are with, understand that some of the most successful things have happened slowly over time.
Correct.
All right. Investments, right? The most successful investments have happened slowly over time. Some of the best things in this world have happened slowly over time. So don't rob yourself and your relationship of that experience of drawing something out and letting it develop slowly over time. Okay? It is the best way for you to eye out discrepancies of what's going on in your situation by drawing it out slowly over time. Okay? And most importantly, your kids are like the number one thing that you have to protect in your life. And if you're going to introduce something to it that is foreign to what it knows, make sure that it is drawn out slowly over time.
Yo, real talk. If I wasn't going to let my kids watch a rated R movie, why would I let them meet some random ass dude? What the fuck?
Agreed. All right.
Let's move on to number 4.
Moving on. Number 4.
Cause I'm so like serious about number 5. It's not even funny.
Top 5 things that you don't do when dating a person with children. Coming in at number 4 is come over unexpectedly. Let me repeat that.
Yeah.
Top 5 things you don't do when dating a person with children. Coming in at number 4 is coming over unexpectedly for late night sex.
I think even more so, like coming over unexpectedly or coming over late at night looking like for like a booty call.
Right.
You know, like, hey girl, what's good?
But
I
it's
was
not
thinking
gonna
about
happen.
you. Or hey guy, what's
Yeah.
I'm looking kind of
It's not gonna happen.
First of all, if you have children, your day has been so jam-packed with dropping them off, taking them to school, picking them up, doing homework, cooking dinner, unless some joker show up at my doorstep unexpected, you will get met with, hey, you cute, get the fuck out of here.
Listen, guys, this goes
Or
out
ladies,
to you, right? No,
don't
this
do
is just for the guys, right?
Okay.
All right. Because I don't know what this is like for the ladies. I can't tell you.
Oh,
but guys,
okay. I'm gonna speak
all
for
right,
the ladies.
you can compare yourself coming over to a woman that you're dating who has kids on the late night for sex unexpectedly, like a bear crawling into a mama bear's den with her cubs in the den for some sex. Okay, I'm just going to just let your imagination just run wild on what could possibly happen in that scenario. Okay, that's what's going to happen to you if you try to creep over to a woman's house that you're dating who has kids unexpectedly on the late night for sex. Expect to get your fucking face mauled off. Okay, don't do it. Just write it the fuck off. All right. And number 4 thing you just don't do when dating a person with children.
And speaking for the women, as much as we would enjoy sex like any other human being, there is a part of parenting is really sticking to a routine. And when you have children that are in school or children that are in daycare and you have a job, you have a routine that you are really adherent to. So if something jumps into that, that could really throw off your day, and it's not a pleasant surprise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's almost like you actually just threw a whole wrench in my shit, and I don't actually find this pleasing.
Right.
So if you are going to visit your significant other that you're potentially dating at that time and they have children, you better damn sure let them know ahead of time, hey, I would like to come and see you. I know you have your children today. Is that okay? There better be some fucking preemptive shit going on. And again, like we spoke earlier, these are the navigations of dating someone with children, or a child, that you have to be able to figure out. And like Evo said, it takes a particular type of person to like kind of really understand these navigations. But go ahead. Let's go to number 3. And like when I tell you I feel so strongly about number 4 too, I have feelings about this shit because like obviously it makes sense because I was dating with children.
And well, if the shoe fits, wear it.
Yeah.
All right. So coming in at number 3.
Yeah, my shoe.
Top 5 things you should not. Okay. Coming in at number 3. Top 5 things you should not do when dating a person with children is sleep over unless you are ready for what goes on in that house in the morning when those kids wake up. All right? This is not no stay over, wake up in the morning, roll over, snuggle. This one wakes up, goes out and gets you breakfast and coffee, and you get back in the bed and you just kind of like just reminisce about the night before. No. What goes on in the morning is straight up breakfast, kids, attendance. There's a whole like orchestra of things that needs to go on in the morning that is so 180 degrees from what you know from staying over a person's house, okay, after spending the night with them. So unless you're ready for something that's totally different from your experience, if you're going to stay over and spend the night with a person that you've been dating who has kids, get ready for a whole nother experience. And this is not Disney. Like, it's not gonna be fun. You just better be supportive and just get ready. It's not about you. You might get tossed to the curb. You might get a blanket thrown on you and shit like that, and just really get discarded because it's time to tend to these kids. All right. So unless you're gonna be supportive or just kind of just fade out into the darkness, all right, don't do it if you're not ready for it.
And that goes back to number 5. You should have not introduced that person to your children unless that person is worthy of meeting your children. Because at that point in time, you have deemed that person worthy to meet your children. So then that means that you feel like they are potentially ready for that interaction. And the reason why Evil said throw a blanket is because that particular situation happened between Evil and I.
Yeah. We're not gonna get into that right now.
No, I mean we can
rolling.
a little bit.
We're rolling.
All I'm saying is that I did feel like Evo was ready for that particular situation,
Yeah,
but
I was ready for it.
he was ready for it, but I wasn't sure if I was like 1000% ready in the sense of like how it happened.
Yeah.
Because it took me okay, so real quick. Evo slept over our house, or my house at the time, and my children were home. We had been dating at this point for like 6 months, and when I tell you, my youngest son at the time totally took us off guard, because when I tell you, he jolted into the room, which was fine because we were sleeping, but that wasn't the way that I wanted Evo to be introduced.
This little guy crawled out of his crib and darted down the highway to his mom. Darted down the hallway to his mommy.
I love that.
As he should have.
Yeah.
All right, because that's what he did every morning.
Yeah.
As soon as he woke up, it was straight to mommy.
Yeah.
And he caught us off guard. And like we were still sleeping, and
Yeah.
I woke up to just these little feet just coming down the hallway, and he was like, "Mommy,"
and I was like, "Holy shit! Throw the blanket."
Yeah.
But I introduced you later in that day, but it just was that moment because I was ready to introduce you, but I just wasn't ready to introduce you.
Not that way.
Not that way.
Not that way.
And I was just like, "Hey, baby, how are you?
Yeah.
You want some pancakes? Great. Mommy's gonna be in the kitchen in a minute."
Came out hungry.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that. Coming in at number 2.
There's another part to that story.
Top 5 things. Coming in at number 2. Top 5 things you should not do while dating a person with kids is get caught having sex.
Oh my fucking God.
Man, listen, if I can't tell you the number of videos, I don't even know if I should say this, videos, memes that I've seen.
I don't think they're videos. I think it's more like memes.
Yeah, it's the memes that I've seen of like 2 people recording themselves in the act, and just by just unfortunate events, they happen to catch in frame a kid walking into frame and catching them in the act.
I know what you're talking about, and you don't mean like catching them. Like, there's been videos and memes that I've seen of like a guy or a girl like taking a promiscuous photo, and then in the photo you see like their child in the back, or like a guy or a girl like acting out something, and then they send they're gonna send the video, and then their kid is in the background.
No, I've seen actually like in the act of, and these people are recording themselves in the act, trying to be kinky. And in frame comes a kid.
What you talking about, Willis?
Because they left the door open.
And where did you see this?
The fucking internet. Where else you think I seen it? What, you think I was there?
That's a little funny to me.
Yo, listen.
But that's fine.
Everything exists on the internet. If you dig enough, you will find it.
I 1000% agree with you. But
so what do you mean? What do you mean? Where did I find it? You're making me seem like I'm a creep or something.
No. I'm just wondering where, like, because I've never seen that. I've seen memes where like a girl will be like taking a sexy selfie in the photo, and then like in the background you see her like a little kid with a bobo.
Yes, that too, but that has nothing to do with get caught having sex. I'm literally it's in number 2. Top 5 things you do not do while dating a person with children is get caught having sex. I don't think I need to like further explain that right there, right?
All right, let's move on to number 1, Evo, because it's actually a little bit after 9:30, and I'm feeling about that.
Yes, I know. So, coming in at number 1, top 5 things you do not do while dating a person with children is expect to come first. And when I say come first, I'm not talking about like orgasmically come first. I'm saying expect to come before their children. All right? Some of you may make the horrific mistake of thinking that because you're dating this person and you're doing whatever you're doing for them in their life, that for some like hallucinogenic reason you think that you come before their children. All right, there is nothing that you can do. I don't want to say nothing. I feel like that maybe some people that don't value their kids the way that they should, and maybe put someone else in front of, but that may be a rare occasion. All right.
Yeah, but that is not how it.
Okay, that's not how it should be. That's not the expectation that you should have, and and that's why this is the top number 1 thing you shouldn't do in dating a person with children, because you will get burned. You will get 86. You will get tossed to the curb. You will get deleted forever in the game of life. All right. So do yourself a favor. Never do that in your life.
Forever, ever?
Forever.
Like, literally, don't.
Yeah.
And speaking from a person who dated with children, if you ever think a mother or a father is going to put you, the person that they're dating, before their children, you have set yourself up for failure.
Yes, you have.
Because their children came from them.
Yeah.
You are a new person in their life that they are learning to love. That human being that is in their life, when it comes to a mother, I'm going to speak, grew inside of them. And when it comes to a man, that man watched that child grow inside of a woman and watched that child potentially be brought into this world. If you for 1 second think that you take precedence over that, you're a fucking joker.
Yes.
And exit stage left.
There's something that people who haven't had children lack the experience of, and that is the experience of an offspring. Mm-hmm. Something happens when a person has an offspring. There's a bond that's created that not only is your child born as a person, but you yourself are born as a parent. You become something totally different at that point in your life that you never knew existed. And so when you've transitioned over into that, someone who doesn't have kids will never know what that's like. So if you haven't had kids, never make the mistake to think that you will come first than the rebirth of a person in their own life.
1000% evil.
All
Preach.
Right? Exit stage left.
Yo, and that actually brings us to the end of this motherfucking live. And I just want to say that I'm so happy to be back. I know we were not here for only one Friday, but when I tell you that I missed it, because it's such a part of our lives, and I love having these conversations with you. And now that a lot more people becoming exposed to our conversations, I feel so blessed in that aspect, is because you and I love to have these type of conversations.
Yeah, we do.
And I'm glad that other people could listen to them and potentially learn something from them, because we are a couple that has been doing the things that we do for like quite some time now.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, right. So like I would love to like share a lot of our experiences and a lot of like our joys and our like downs with people. Kind of touching on like what you said earlier. I like to share in that aspect because this is kind of going out in the ether, and like whoever wants to absorb it, they can, and whoever doesn't want to, they don't have to. But with that being said, until next Friday.
Thank you for joining us on Shit Talk Fridays. Until next Friday.
Yo, peace out.